Oh, yeah, pipe smokers. Yep, this is the Paul Gilson YouTube channel, and I am Paul Gilson, aka Paul the Pipe Guy. Yeah, so what are we going to talk about? Let's talk about something other than pipes, but let's smoke a pipe together. I've got this beautiful Rat Rays Hail to the King pipe that I bought maybe a couple of years ago, and in it it's got some Sutliff bourbon. And oh, that smells good. It's good stuff. Let's set something on fire. All right, here we go. So grab your favorite pipe, grab your favorite blend, and grab your favorite beverage. Let's have a smoke together. Let's talk about something other than pipes. What are we going to talk about? If you were suddenly given $1 million, what would you do with it? You might think, wow, $1 million, that'd be great. Tax free? Yeah, tax free. $1 million. Some people think, oh man, I'd be happy. Now, you might be happy for a while. Then you may want more. You may decide that you want to share it with others in need, help out family members, maybe help out local food pantry, help the needy, or maybe you just would want to keep it all for yourself because you think that $1 million would bring you joy. Joy is different than happiness. Happiness is up here. Happiness is, oh, great, I got this new truck, or I got this new car, or we just bought this new house. Joy is in here, in your heart. Joy is something when you marry the partner that you love, that you want to spend the rest of your life with. Joy is when you have watch one of your children being born and they breathe their first breath. Joy is giving to others in need when you have the ability to do so. My mother always taught me, my brothers never listened, but I did. My mother always taught me that true love is doing something for somebody else that they're unable to do for themselves. You know, in this world, we have givers, we have the needy, who are very humble, and we have the takers. Some people are professional takers. Probably one of the first times I really ever felt affected by someone giving to me and my family. My birth father had left earlier that summer and basically kind of abandoned us kids, four of us, you know. Thanksgiving rolls around, it's just us kids and my mom. And she didn't tell us at the time, but she didn't have the money for a turkey. She didn't know how she was going to afford a Thanksgiving dinner for five people, four kids, and for herself. She never let on. My mother is a woman of prayer and faith. When my mother prays, God listens. And when my mother tells me something, I listen. At almost 60 years old, I'll be 60 in December, if my mother called me up and said, you need to do this. My mom, she don't overstep her bounds, but when my mom says something, you better listen. So there was a knock on the door a couple days before Thanksgiving. And we must have been off school for fall break or something like that. So we opened the door to the garage, because we had a front door and then there was a walk through into our garage and then the side door inside the garage. Someone had come in our garage and then knocked on the door very hard and left. When we went out there, no one was there. There was a big box, and inside the box was a turkey and all the fixings you could ever imagine for a Thanksgiving dinner for a family of 5. And I remember my mother saying, I didn't tell you kids, we didn't have money for Thanksgiving this year. Look what someone just gave us and ran away, you know. And wow. I remember, you know, and that right there in itself, I call that finding $1 million opportunities. Let me say that again. Finding $1 million opportunities. In other words, $1 million is not going to bring you true joy. It will not. But can you imagine the joy that those people had? And the joy that we had? That they could selflessly do something like that. We never found out who it was. We had a great Thanksgiving. I remember my grandmother. Her father was a real hard-working man. My grandmother, I'm talking about my mom's mother, and she was born, I think, in 1928, and there was 12 or 13 kids. Father was a hard-working man. They lived in like one of the first motor coach buses. My grandfather had taken a school bus and converted it into a house for him. And they used to work the fields. as kids. They'd be driving down the road, there'd be 12 kids hanging out the window. Yeah. And every one of those kids became extremely successful. My great-grandfather was a giver. And when he passed away, there was thousands and thousands of people at his funeral. But my grandmother, they didn't have it. I mean, they didn't have any money. This was in the Depression. I remember in the late 60s, early 70s, my grandmother's telling me, Paulie, help me load these things up in the car. And now we, up here in upstate New York, we live in the fruit belt. When I say the fruit belt, apples, cherries, peaches, pears, strawberries, all that stuff we grow up here up north, you know, by the Great Lakes, and gets sent all over the world. New York State has some of the best apples in the world. So my grandmother would go, and they had migrant workers, and this is, like I said, back in the late 60s, early 70s. And these migrant workers would, and they were colored people, whole families. Their kids weren't going to school. They were working in the fields. So these migrant workers, they'd come on up and they'd work in the fields, and then when, you know, the seasons would change or whatever, they'd go down south or wherever. I was a little kid. I remember my grandma pulling up. I remember seeing these people in these shacks. They didn't have windows in the shacks. There was no electricity, and I'm sure there probably wasn't running water. Couldn't run a farm and have workers in those conditions nowadays. Well, that's how these people lived. They'd see my grandma's car pull up. They'd all be sitting come out of the house. I mean, I remember there was no windows. They were longer shacks, no windows, nothing, not at all. And they'd all come out on the porches of these things. My grandmother would go up and they'd all hug her and stuff. And she'd have stuff like, you know, dish liquid detergent, laundry detergent and stuff. She'd take her own pots and pans, you know, because maybe, I don't know if they had wood burning stoves in there or what. She'd take her own pots and pans out of her cupboard and give them away. That's the type of lady my grandmother was. Mm-hmm. Bring them canned food. As soon as they saw that car pull up, man, big smiles. Helen was here. I got to witness that. I didn't quite understand it at the time. And I asked my grandmother what we were doing, and she explained it to me. She said those people are very, very poor. And so about once a week I come up here and I give them stuff that they need. That's $1 million opportunity. You know what joy that used to give my grandmother to do that? I don't like telling on myself. I don't consider myself anything special or that, but I remember it was about 3 days before Thanksgiving, and I was working, cheers by the way, I was working at Walmart department store. And I had my own family business. And but it was seasonal, so only summer. So I'd drop down to like 16 hours a week, and me and my kids and we'd run this family business all summer, spring, summer, and fall. And then I'd hop up as much as I could to try to get almost 40 hours a week working at Walmart. So this one particular Thanksgiving week, I'm working in the electronics department, and at Walmart you'd come in and put your bottles and cans and stuff in and print out a little receipt, and then you'd take that to any register and they'd give you cash for it. So this woman comes up. She's got two boys. One's probably 10. One was probably 12. And you could tell the older brother, he kind of cared, looked out for his younger brother. I just could feel that. You just knew they didn't have no money. So they come up and they got like all these different receipts. Well, that morning, if I can roll back, I got up. And the Lord speaks to you through your heart. You don't hear his voice or anything, but I just had this feeling that God gave me that I should open my safe and put $100 bill in my pocket. So I did. Didn't question it. It was getting down pretty low. But, well, this family comes in with those receipts, and I was like, you guys all ready for Thanksgiving? Well, the older boy says, if we can get enough bottles and cans, we'll be able to afford to buy a turkey. And my heart just dropped. And then I knew that's why I had that $100 bill in my pocket. And, you know, the boys were kind of sad about being poor. They didn't really want anyone to know that. I mean, you could tell they weren't on drugs. The mother wasn't an alcoholic or anything. I could tell instantly if somebody's into something. They weren't into nothing. They were just a poor family. Probably didn't have a dad around. I said, well, ma'am, I says, I think you're going to have a great Thanksgiving. I reached into my pocket, I pulled out the $100 bill, and I shook her hand with both hands, and I slipped her the 100, and she looked. Tears started racing down her face. And she said, I can't take this. I says, yes, you can. I said, the Lord in the Bible says that we should pay our tithing, and it doesn't always have to go to the church. Today it's going to you. You and your family are going to have a great Thanksgiving. She ran around that counter, gave me a big hug. Yeah, I'd have liked to have been a mouse in the corner on that Thanksgiving day. What a great day that must have been. That's $1 million opportunity. That if you didn't pay attention to your heart or listen to the good Lord upstairs, whatever you call it, you might have missed out on that. It's better to give than to receive. You know? The most giving people I've ever seen in my life are the people that have the least to give. I've done work for a lot of greedy people that are very wealthy. They're not givers. They're looking, what can I get for myself? And they don't have joy. I can tell you that. I worked when we owned our family business, I worked at houses that were worth millions and millions of dollars. There was lots of diamonds, but very little smiles. Keep that in mind. Some of the simplest things. I'm going to tell on myself one more time. Every now and then when I'm in the grocery store doing my shopping or something like that, it doesn't happen too often. It's happened a couple times where I'll just see a lady and she just seems sad. Just in the deep depths of just sadness. I can feel it and it's heavy. My spirit is very sensitive to feeling things like that, you know. One time I'm in there. I'm in the local grocery store here, Aldi's I like to shop at. This woman just looks so just sad. I went and I got 24 roses right in the store. I paid for them and I said, look, I'll be back. I got to go find somebody. I need a separate receipt for these roses. So I run around and I find this woman and I said, excuse me, ma'am. I said, my name is Paul. I'm not hitting on you, but you look like you need something to brighten your day. And I think these would look great on your table. And I hand her the 24 roses, and all these people are witnessing this. They're like, "Oh!" I said, "You have a great day, miss." Snip them at 45 degrees on the bottom. Put that little stuff in the container, you know, with the water, and they'll keep fresh for a week. And out I'd go. She smiled. The deep sadness that she had, that I could just feel weighting on her shoulders, just left. Yep. Those $1 million opportunities. You know, it says in the good book that you'll be paid back if you give like that 10 times. It doesn't mean that you're going to make 10 times tenfold, meaning, which is like 10,000 times. Multiply 10 by 10, and, well, you get it. Joy is priceless. Can't buy it. So, anyways, that's my $1 million opportunity. Smoke together. I'm Paul the Pipe Guy. God bless y'all. Y'all have a happy Thursday. Yeah. Over now.